Hi, and welcome to the castle. I'm Lord Raven. Today I have my assistant Blackbeak with me.
Hello.
And we have an outdoor prop here that needs some repair. It's been left outside for a long time and the internals have rusted up. So today we're going to show you how to take one of these apart and fix some of the internals. So let's get started. So this happens to everyone. You leave a prop outside longer than you want, it gets wet in the rain, and then you get some rust. Remember all the rain we had this October, Blackbeak?
Yeah, so it's like every day in October.
Yeah. So I have a plastic Tombstone here. I love these, by the way. Out of all the Halloween props, Tombstones are my absolute fave. This, I think, here was from Target. I have a similar one I bought a few years ago, so it was probably either Target or Home Depot. Anyways, this one had stopped lighting up. The switch was hard to move, and there was some visible rust on the battery compartment. Now, a lot of people would just use this without the lights or pitch it. But this is a really easy fix that anyone can do with some cheap parts. Now, before we get started, if you haven't already, please take a moment to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all my views and subscribers, and your support will help me build and bring in more Halloween fans. This Tombstone is a pretty simple setup. It's got a battery compartment on the back and 4 LEDs that light up. There's no sound or motion, it's just the lights. So there's not much to deal with here. So we're going to start by opening up this Tombstone. In this case, I've already done some of the work here before I decided to make this video. So I removed the battery compartment from the prop, removed all the wires with a soldering iron, and then looked at the layout inside. Now this particular Tombstone has 4 LED lights that are all connected to a small PCB that distributes power. There's the main battery compartment plus a secondary battery compartment with 2 LR41 batteries. Now these were used for the try me function, which the batteries have stopped working. There's also a switch and a 10 ohm resistor. Now once I had everything taken apart, I started testing all the components. There were 2 LED lights that were not working. One trick I learned, when you want to test an LED, you can use one of those small 3-mode garage remote batteries. It's great for a quick check, and it won't damage the LEDs with overvoltage. Remember, LEDs take a maximum of 3 volts. So we'll take a look at how to do this in a moment. Okay, so here we go. Blackbeak is going to test out this LED. And as you can see, she's just got one of these small 3-volt batteries. These are easily bought. They go in a garage remote or some other things like that. So why don't you go ahead and show them how you're going to test these LEDs. Very easy to do. As you can see, the LED is lighting up. So it's working, and this is a great way to test that out without damaging your LEDs. So I also tested the power distribution chip that I mentioned, and I found that the water had rusted out many of the connections, and power was just not getting to all these LEDs. The 10 ohm resistor, which was part of this setup, had also rusted and broken apart. And finally, the switch was rusted out and partially fused. I was able to get it to slide, but I'm thinking it's really not in the best shape. So that outlines the things that we're going to be looking to repair. Now we can get started with our fix. Now I started the repair by taking the battery compartment apart and completely soaking all the connections and springs in white vinegar overnight. White vinegar is great on metal and plastic items. It's a mild acid, and over time it will remove light rust. But this is important. There's a lot of horror stories out there from people soaking PCBs in vinegar. It might look squeaky clean when it comes out, but if there's any vinegar residue left, it'll eat through your PCB over time. So that's a no-no. So after a night of soaking, the metal parts came out pretty clean. So I reassembled the battery compartment and tested it with a voltmeter to make sure everything was connected properly and nothing was interfering with the power. This battery compartment uses 2 AA batteries, so it should be supplying right around 3 volts. After a quick test, it read 2.97 volts, so that's definitely within range. So after checking all 4 lights, I found 2 LEDs not working, so I decided to remove them all and reseat them. To do that, I just gripped them firmly in my fingers and pulled them straight out of the plastic body. You can go ahead and show that Blackbeak here. So you just grab it and then pull it straight out. There you go. See how it comes out pretty easy. Now, if they don't come out very easily, you can always get in there and cut the glue gently with a craft knife, but be very careful not to damage the wires or the LED. Now, once I removed all the LEDs, I resoldered the two that were broken to the lead wires. So we're going to replace them now and secure them in the Tombstone. To do that, I'm going to be using hot glue. Hot glue is going to be a big part of most of these repairs. It's a great choice. It's cheap, waterproof, it dries quickly, and it can be used on electrical components since it's an insulator. So Blackbeak, take one of these LEDs and feed it into the body wires first. Exactly. Just push it in there gently. There you go. And keep feeding it down. That's perfect. Looks great. Okay, so now we're going to stop with the LED just outside the socket, and in order to secure these, we're going to put a blob of hot glue in the socket and then push the LED gently into it and hold it a moment while it sets up. So let's go ahead and do this. I've got my hot glue gun here. We're just going to pull it out a little bit here. You can help me out here, Blackbeak. And we're going to put a blob of glue right into that hole. And then go ahead and push that in there. And you're going to have to hold it while it sets up just a little bit there. Make sure the light is seated pretty well in that hole. There you go. And then just hold it a moment there while that cools and seats up. Doesn't take very long. That's why hot glue is a great option for doing some of these repairs. Okay, so there you see it's all seated. Now we're going to turn this around and strip some of the wires with our wire strippers. So let's turn this around here. Here's the wires that we fed through the back earlier. Now these wire strippers, these are wire strippers here, and if you haven't picked up a pair of these, they are well worth the cost. Very easy if you're doing a lot of electrical work. It does the job very, very simple. You just put the wire in there, feed it in, and it strips it right away. Very, very easy. Now Blackbeak, why don't you go ahead, we're going to test this just to make sure that the light is not damaged, it's still working. So go ahead and give that a shot with that battery. There you go. You can see our light is working properly. We're going to continue on with the rest of the 3 LEDs. We're going to strip all the wires in the back and test them just to make sure that they're working correctly. And then we'll get together and put these wires together in the back. There we go. So we have all the wires fed into this prop. All the LEDs are seated and it's tested and all our LEDs are working now. I mentioned this prop had a power distribution chip that these LEDs all plugged into, but it's no longer working. Now I could probably find new connectors online and try and fix the chip, but if there's other issues, it would just be a waste of time and money. So I'm going to go with a simple fix. I'm going to use a waterproof, low temperature solder connector to splice all the wires together permanently. So I've taken some time to strip the ends of all the wires. Now each connector is going to join 5 wires total. 4 wires going to the LEDs, and then a lead wire, which we're going to attach to the battery compartment. So the lead wire I'm going to use is this. This is a 22 AWG wire. Now this is actually a larger wire. The wires leading to the LED lights are smaller, so there may be AWG 24s or 26s. So I'm going to put 3 wires into one side of this solder connector and then 2 in the other. So I need a connector big enough to admit 3 wires at once, and it's this one here, the red one. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-twist 3 wires together and then insert them into one side of here. The other 2 wires, I'm going to insert the other, and then we're going to go ahead and connect this. Okay, so now we've got all our wires bunched together in the connector, and this has a blob of low temperature solder in the middle that melts when the heat gun hits it, and then it joins those wires together, and then the ends have shrink wrap material that seal them permanently and makes it watertight. So I'm going to hold this together. Blackbeak, if you can get that gun on there, put some heat on here. There we go. The gun does take a bit of time to heat up. Always remember red and red go together, so all your reds go together and then all your blacks go together. So you can see that's starting to melt there, melt together. You turn it so it gets on all sides. You get the ends all sealed up. You can see that shrink wrap is just fusing that together. Make sure that the solder is flowing there. Okay. Now once this sets up a little bit, it dries, this is going to form a really tight waterproof seal. Now we're going to go ahead and do the black wires just like we did these. And then we're going ahead and going to test the connections just to make sure that all our LEDs are working properly. Okay, we've got all our wires connected. Let's go ahead and test them just to make sure all our lights are working properly and our connection is solid. There you go. Look at that. So they're all lighting up properly. Next, we're going to go ahead and start reassembling that battery compartment and get this put back together. Now, I mentioned before that this prop has a compartment that includes 2 LR41 batteries. All of these tombstones were shipped to stores with try me buttons, and these batteries would allow the prop to be operated a limited number of times before you installed the real batteries. Now, my initial thought was to rewire the connections in the back to bypass these LR41 batteries, but still preserve the try me function. I didn't want to have to keep replacing the batteries. Unfortunately, as I was working with this, I noticed that the parts of the try me connector were rusted out and no longer functioned. Now I could go online and buy a new connector, but to be honest, it's just not worth it for me to enable that part of this prop. It's not an expensive tombstone, and I probably won't be using the try me function that often. Now, I did notice that the switch was in poor shape. It was seized up when I first got this prop, so I did decide to order a new bag of switches. I think it cost me about $8 for 20 of them, so it's a cheap repair, and then I'll have some of these for future repairs. I'm also going to replace the 10 ohm resistor that had rusted apart. Now, I took a few moments and I resoldered all of the connections, and then I secured everything in the control box here with hot glue. Now, as I mentioned, hot glue is a great thing. It can be used directly on electrical connections, and it's waterproof once it's dried. So you can see here we have the assembled battery compartment. Go ahead, Blackbeak, give that a try. Let's see if it works. There you go. As you can see, we light up and we're working great. Okay, the next step is we have to put everything back in and screw it all back together, and then we'll be done. So let's go ahead and do that now. If you want to help me here, we're just going to push all these wires back in. If you want to get that control box there, I'm just going to gently push all of these in. Everything should be soldered up pretty good and secure, so there we go. Fits in just like that. If you want to grab a screw there. There we go. Just need to set down a little bit. Go ahead. Next one. There we go. And the last one. There we go. So our repair is complete. Let's take a look at this. Looks nice and solid on the back. Everything's reinstalled. Flip this to the front here, and we'll just test it out and see how it goes. There you go. As we can see, it works perfectly. I'm Lord Raven. My assistant here is Blackbeak. Thanks for watching. If you haven't, please subscribe and like this video. I appreciate every one of you and hope you keep watching for more extreme Halloween.